Good evening, comrades. This is Vandal Drummond, along with Alfredo Esparza, for the first edition of Slammin. Look at it. I can't even get our name right.
I know, seriously. I noticed we kept mispronouncing misspelling the whole name through the whole what we were writing down.
And it's so simple, and even I can make it into a tongue twister. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Well, to those of you who are listening, if anybody is listening, this is our debut show. We're covering mostly pro wrestling, all things pro wrestling, and actually anything pop culture that you would like us to discuss, provided we want to discuss it. And we're free-falling into this show. We're experimenting to see how this format works, if you could even call it a format. And we invite you to dive into our wondrous, disastrous embrace. Might be a total disaster, might be something you enjoy, but we hope you'll give us a spin. And if you like or dislike what you hear, you can email me at liger@aol.com. That's LYGER @AOL.com. Alfredo?
Kurt, you're a pro at this.
Oh, man. Well, I have my cup of tea here, so I'm just, getting started.
You're a pro at this. Oh, you know what I was trying to do earlier today?
What's that?
I tried watching TNA to prepare for the show.
Oh, my Lord. Well, you're brave. What did you think? What were your impressions?
I only lasted 30 minutes into the show and gave up.
Well, then I'm proud of you. I actually enjoy getting my TNA news from Brian Alvarez and his friend Vinny. It's actually, I believe, much more entertaining than actually watching the show itself, because I love hearing Brian go on his type A rants. It's a wondrous thing.
Well, you know the thing, I didn't see any wrestling on it, though. It was like 30 minutes of, we were just talking through the whole thing. I was like, it felt like an infomercial.
Well, I heard that's typical on a TNA show. And actually, another thing I guess I should bring up...
I thought they did like 3 minutes of wrestling at least.
Surprise.
Like wrestling, then a run-in.
Why did they even put up a ring, I wonder?
Well, they started with this introduction to Jeff Jarrett or something.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe comes in. Have you seen Samoa Joe lately?
No. And actually, this is where I want to cut in really briefly. This being our debut show, I guess I should give you a little background on both Alfredo and myself.
No, don't give any background. Just on
okay, no background, but I do need to point out this little trivial fact.
Uh-huh.
Alfredo is well-versed in everything pro wrestling, past and present. I shouldn't say everything, but he's pretty down on the scene. I keep up listening to the Figure 4 podcasts and reading the Wrestling Observer newsletter, but I have strayed. I have watched very little wrestling in the last 4 or 5 years. So this is kind of like a reawakening, and Alfredo is one of the people who points me to the things good and bad in pro wrestling that I should look for, what I should avoid. And Alfredo, the first thing I want to thank you for is pointing me out to the phenomenon of Negro Costas, Felino, and Mr. Niebla. Oh, my God. I saw that ring entrance.
There you go.
That is one of the 5 greatest ring entrances I have ever seen.
I told you.
I swear to you. It is like the spirit of Martin Cardagian of Titanes en el Ring flew into the vaults of Something Weird Video and sprinkled it with a touch of Johnny Legend. This is one of the most profound ring entrances you will ever see. I think I feel the way Dr. Jerry Graham did the night he discovered the existence of Gumby and Pokey in 1982. This is astounding. And for those of you who have not seen this ring entrance, go to my webpage at www.stantheembryo.com, because I have posted one of their most recent entrances. You just have to see it. How do they know this stuff? How these guys know the fucking truth? That's all I got to say.
They're really over on the Tuesday shows, so you could expect them to be.
Yes.
Plus, they got Negro Costas in it, so they're always going to be at the top of the card. So.
And it's funny, getting reacquainted with Lucha Libre. I watched 2 of the recent Negro Casas versus Mystico matches.
Oh, you finally saw the second one?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've got to say, I know, at least from what I hear, Casas has a lot of power in the booking office. But I must say, he deserves it. Negro Casas, I believe, is every bit as good as when I first saw him in 1985. And I know he might be pushing himself to the top, but he deserves it.
You missed the previous years, that's why. You're only catching him as a heel, and that he kind of works better as a heel.
What are your impressions of him as a babyface?
As a babyface, I think he was getting kind of wearing out his welcome towards the end.
So it was time for a Rudo turn.
Yeah, it was about time for him to switch over.
It is interesting. I mean, it's fascinating to see just how over they are with the CML audience.
Yeah. Well, the good news is now that Dos Caras Jr. is leaving. I don't know.
That blew my mind. I just thought that was another one of those stories, or the Dos Caras story for the umpteenth time.
Well, that's still a rumor though, because it's only been reported by Super Luchas, and everybody's carrying it like it's the gospel. If
Dos Caras Jr. goes to WWE, I hope he makes 6 figures. I hope he makes a good salary, because he deserves everything wonderful after getting kicked by Mirko Krokop.
Have you seen him wrestle lately, though?
No, I haven't, but after getting kicked by Mirko Krokop kicked off one of Dos Caras' 2 faces. And I don't know where that second face is soared to, but it's probably still flying across some astral plane, trying to find another soul to inhabit, unless it could find Dos Caras. So he is like un Caras.
I'm guessing Krokop must have kicked a little bit more out of Dos Caras Jr., because, I mean, in CMLL,
it was sick.
In CMLL, he was awful.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I think it took his spirit or something, because I remember when was it when I spoke to Mike Tenay, was 2001, I think? Yeah,
that was, I think it was a little more recently than that, but...
No, but when I spoke to Mike Tenay, I was really high on Dos Caras, and, towards the end, it was I was ashamed I even brought him up when I was talking. If I could go back in time, I would actually tell Mike Tenay I would actually apologize for mentioning Dos Caras Jr. Because, I think from the CMLL Japan stuff, he was really good.
Mm-hmm.
AAA, he looked pretty good also. But then, in CMLL, he just never caught on. I don't know, they turned him Rudo, they turned him babyface, they turned him heel. And
I did not see that.
When they turned him heel, he was playing chicken shit the whole time. How tall is he, 6'5", I think, or something like that, 6'3", 6'5"?
He's a pretty big dude, which, that might increase his chances for getting a push in WWE if this turns out to actually happen, but I wouldn't get my hopes up on it. But he does have the size to get over there.
But, in CMLL, he didn't work. That as a heel, it wasn't going to work for him. So I think if he could get anything out of WWE, it's a good move. It's a great move for both sides.
Yeah, I agree.
Except for maybe WWE, though, because I don't think they'll be too pleased with him.
And in relation to Negro Casas, one of the reasons I point out why I feel he is just as good as he was 20 years ago is it seems like the trend is these days is to wrestle just a stronger, harder style, no matter the cost to your body. Negro Casas is one of those guys who proves that you could have a 40-minute match, a 1-hour match, a quality match without destroying your body. I don't know if you heard Ed Moretti when he was on Brian Alvarez's show recently, looking back on the career of Playboy Buddy Rose, but one of the things Moretti said is he could get back in the ring today and take all the bumps he used to take and not get hurt. And it seems, I know, that was yesterday, today is today. But when I was trained, they trained you to make it look as believable as possible, with getting hurt the least. And now it almost seems like people think, well, you're a total pussy if you don't get hurt. And Negro Casas is one of those guys who, in my opinion, shows that you can be a great wrestler and, not do every tope in the book and not, do every risky move. You don't have to take out your body just to have a good match.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I was going to ask you?
Yes.
With the passing of Misawa?
Misawa, yes.
Did you read up on that? On what
I have not read either Brian Alvarez's or Dave Meltzer's look back on Misawa, but earlier today I watched the match between him and Jumbo Tsuruta from 1990, where Tsuruta put him over and passed the torch to him. And I was actually at that match live.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, too.
I actually went with Dave Meltzer to Japan.
And I was going to ask you, because Meltzer was talking about it, and I thought, how come he hasn't mentioned if he went to that? Because I know you traveled with him a lot.
Not that I'm name-dropping or anything, but...
I was going to ask you, did he take a pen and paper, does he take notes during a match?
Yes, everywhere he went.
He does take notes?
Yeah. In fact, one of the funniest experiences is he was interviewing Medusa Michelli because she was with the All Japan Women at the time. And as he's interviewing her, I thought he'd bring along a tape recorder, something like that. But no, he's got his notepad out, and he's scribbling this chicken scratch that looked more like hieroglyphics or Sanskrit. And halfway through the interview, Medusa asks him, "Can you read your own writing?" And he just chuckled and said, "If I read it within the next 90 minutes, I can recognize what it was I was saying, but if I look at it tomorrow, I'll have no idea what I was writing."
What I was going to ask you, does he mumble about the star ratings during a match, or
never?
He just does it towards the end, when he gets home or whatever.
Yeah,
that out?
In fact, I never heard him mention, that match we just saw was 3 stars, 5 stars.
He actually takes the time to enjoy the match during the...
Oh, yes, he does.
Oh,
he's
cool. Writing
about it, and you could tell he's enjoying it at the same time. In fact, that's one of the things that I remember about the match between Misawa and Tsuruta is, for those of you who are not who don't know the history behind Tsuruta and Misawa, is Misawa came close to beating Tsuruta time after time. And tonight was the night that it was rumored that Tsuruta was finally going to put Misawa over. And the buzz in the arena was insane. I mean, I wish I could put it into words. When the match started, you could just feel the arena was alive. I mean, everybody knew what that match meant. They had a feeling that this might be the night that Misawa goes over. And every near fall that happened, every lariat that Tsuruta laid into Misawa, every pin attempt, people popped like crazy for. And it's funny, until watching the match earlier today again on YouTube, it's actually the first time I've watched it in probably 15 years. And the only thing I remembered about the match before rewatching it was the finish, where Tsuruta goes for the body press and Misawa reverses it. The only thing I really remembered about that night was just how insane the audience was. I honestly have never been in a wrestling arena where the people were that electric, were that alive.
So was that the best match you saw live, pretty much?
I would say...
Or was that...
I would say it's easily one of the 3 best matches I saw live, and it is, without a doubt, the most historically significant match I ever saw live.
Was that better than that one match at Arena Paraguayo?
Oh, Alfredo, every match is better than a match at Arena Paraguayo.
There you go.
Especially Vandal Drummond's matches.
Well, the funniest thing was them always mispronouncing your name and misspelling it on the little flyers. Bandel Drum. I think I saw like 3 different misspellings for your name. Bandel Drummond, Drumick.
Yes, I have had my name misspelled more times than I think anybody in the industry. I've accomplished less than most people in the industry, but my name has been misspelled more than I think anybody else. Even a name like Mirko Krokop or Popey Tekis, I bet you their names people get right with more frequency than my name.
You know, getting back to the Misawa, the night he passed away, I was going to ask you, what was the movie that they did? Was it the backdrop suplex or something that injured him? Was that the? That
was my impression.
So how dangerous is that move?
That's the weird.
This is like a basic.
That's the strange. I'm sorry.
Isn't that like a basic move or something?
It is. I have the impression that you could probably find the match somewhere. If not on YouTube, you could find it somewhere on the web. And I usually don't like watching anything like that, but
they actually filmed that thing. I don't think I would film it.
Well, what I do know is that on the web you can at least find his entrance to that match. Yeah. I did watch that. Shortly.
You did a search. Prepared. I thought you weren't going to be prepared for this.
What's that?
I thought you weren't going to prepare for this. You were going to wing it.
Well, I guess I panicked a little bit. Actually, shortly after Misawa died, somebody mentioned you can see his final ring entrance on YouTube, the Japan wing of it. So I watched it, and it was just the entrance. But somewhere on the Figure 4 website, they mentioned that there's video footage of them trying to revive Misawa, and he cautioned people that it was graphic. Yeah. And I guess they played that on the news. And my assumption is that you probably could find the video footage, and I really don't like watching that kind of stuff. I've never watched the Owen Hart footage that I've heard so much about.
They actually have, that's also available? Oh.
I've been told that, that somebody had a camera in the arena that night. That's something I do not care to watch, assuming it exists. I'm sorry I cut you off.
I can't stand seeing some of those injuries, like the Sid Vicious one and Charlie Manson and all that stuff. That stuff's just too graphic.
Yeah, I really don't enjoy watching those, but I am a little curious to see the Misawa backdrop only because I'm wondering, was it a really bad suplex? I couldn't picture them botching a suplex. I mean, those guys were just fluent, just fluent pro wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds, unless they dropped him on his head or something, that just seems like such an extreme.
Yeah. It could also just be this really freak thing like what happened with Oro in 1993, or I think in 1991 at Grand Apache School there was a student, a young woman who died from a very basic move that just, she was dropped wrong. And I know, like I said, part of me doesn't want to watch the footage, and part of me is curious. Another thing I'm wondering if it's something similar to Plum Mariko's death, where the body had taken those bumps so many times, and it was the accumulation of a lot of wear and tear and injuries. And if
I think it was that.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Because Dave Meltzer kind of mentioned that it was he had already suffered a lot of a lot of injuries to his back and to his spine.
And I believe it.
Because they do a lot.
I mean, I have not followed Japan for almost 10 years now. In fact, it didn't dawn on me how little I followed Japan until right after
Misawa's picture, wasn't it that?
Yeah, when I saw Misawa's picture, a recent picture of him, my jaw dropped, and I said, "Oh my God, I've never seen him. He looks so much older and heavier." It was a little. I'm sorry?
He probably smoked a lot, too.
Possibly did.
Asians smoke a lot, so most of them.
I know, but I remember Ultimo Dragon smokes a lot.
Yeah.
At least he did the times I met him, but...
All my friends used to smoke in college, so...
I do not get the appeal of it.
I don't want to sound like I'm being racist or anything.
But then again, I'm a pretty boy who likes to drink tea.
Yeah, I am a little bit, so.
Pretty boys and proud.
You know, the weird thing we were talking about, what was it? On Monday we were talking about Misawa passing away, and then the next day, or like that very day or something, we end up hearing about the referee dying too.
Yeah, but just a year younger than Misawa.
Yeah.
And during a match like Misawa. I know there's something very eerie about that.
Did you ever meet him? Because he worked a lot of the shows you probably went
to. The referee, what's funny is I remember Dave Meltzer talking about meeting him in 1990, and that was the year I went on the trip to Japan with Dave.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking I must have met him, but I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember if I met him or not. Yeah, people I remember meeting in Japan were Wally Yamaguchi, who was a hell of a host, and a comedian who worked with Michinoku Pro named Han Bei, who was one of the funniest and nicest guys I've ever met. Wow. Don't know whatever happened to him, but I ran into him once at the Anoki Peace Festival back in '96.
It seems that's like the last time you spoke to most of those guys, wasn't it?
That's the last time I actually saw Steve Sims face to face.
That's why I keep bringing it. I'm gonna start bringing that up, man. You guys gotta
bring it up. Who else?
Get together and meet or something.
That's the last time I saw Greg Regalado, who I used to wrestle on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Should have a Peace Festival reunion of some kind.
So have you seen any of the Triplemania stuff on YouTube?
None of it.
None of it? It started popping up, I think. It started, 2 days ago. The Dr. Wagner and Messias match showed up, and now everything's up. Everything. So now you can watch it on YouTube.
And as you hear the tea boiling, maybe that's
maybe
that's the bell that tells us, Alfredo, if I had only, say, 25 minutes to go surfing for highlights of Triplemania, what 25 minutes would you have me search for?
Just look for the Messias Dr. Wagner match. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
I tried watching the guy who put up the Messias Dr. Wagner Jr. match. He put up the cage match also, but he clipped it. He clipped it down to 10 minutes.
Oh.
And I mean, you can't even sit through the 10 minutes. I don't know. I didn't like it.
That bad?
Well, I mean, because he did the introductions, which pretty much took up about 4 or 5 minutes of the beginning of it, and it's just basically showing guys jumping out of the ring or out of the cage.
Which is why, when I do watch AAA, I usually DVR it, because if you watch it in real time, you have to wait through all those introductions, and those introductions lead to commercials, and before you know it, it feels like half the show has passed before a match even starts.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the bad thing with Galavision. It's always like that. They'll do the intro, then they'll do a commercial, and if it's a 3-hour, if you see it, they're listing a 3-hour block, you know that there's going to be at least a 5-minute commercial in between everything. So you get the intro, then they start the match. The first thing you do is they start wanting to get, they'll do the fuera, for the heels.
Yes.
Kick them out. Then all of a sudden you get all these crowd shots, and then you get them zoom into some weird finish or something. It's like, dude.
Yes, and as you know, that's my biggest gripe with AAA of everything.
It's not edited, and it's the same problem with CMLL too. The CMLL, they do the same thing too. On their
they do that, but they don't do it quite as.
They don't do it as often. They want to do commercial breaks in between the introductions, but they'll do it after every fall. But they'll start with showing the girls walking into the ring girls walking up the ramp. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they'll go right to a certain point in the match. Then you pretty much miss points in the match because they're showing you the fans.
Yes.
Seriously, what are we watching, the fans or?
I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish. I can understand an occasional fan shot just to look at the jubilance in the arena, but like you said, you're in the middle of a high spot, or you're at a turning point in the match, and, next thing you see a fan shoving nachos up their nose, and, or I don't get it.
Or my favorite shot is the little kid asleep.
That's a way to put over your promotion.
Yeah, I know, and they do that. They all do it. I don't see WWE ever doing that. I never see WWE.
No, they're very polished.
As bad as WWE, their shows can be at times, and I don't know how anybody's going to sit through that 2-hour commercial-free show that they're going to do. But still, you'll never have all these these crowd shots all of a sudden in between matches.
Yeah, it feels like they're almost not smartening up the cameramen or something.
Yeah, I just don't get that. It's one of those weird things. So getting back to Triplemania, did you hear about the attendance figure?
I heard nothing about it.
It was like 85%.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a sold out show.
Do you know any other details about recent AAA attendance? Because it seemed like for the last few years they've been absolutely on fire, whether the wrestling has excelled or sucked.
Yeah, they've been pretty good most of the time. But what's surprising is I don't think it's so much AAA, but I'm surprised Hijo de Santo didn't sell out just to see him in AAA again. I think that tells you how bad Hijo de Santo has.
Wow.
His drawing ability has kind of failed.
How the mighty fall.
Yeah. But that's happening to everybody that's gone independent.
Independents don't seem what they used to be. Then again, I don't know if the past independent reputation was myth or...
No, you could tell, if you watch an independent from right now compared to 10 years ago.
Yeah?
You could tell the difference from their shows. If you watch Arena Coliseo from Monterrey.
Yes.
If you would have watched it 8 years ago, it would have been a little bit more packed. It would have been packed practically. It would have been sold out. But now you have 35 people just roaming the around the ring. It's funny. We were watching during the Triplemania. Cubs fan was doing a chat, and basically your options you had basically two options: listening to the AAA music for about 5 hours, or watching Arena Coliseo de Monterrey TV show for 2 hours. I think it was an hour 90 minutes, an hour or so, something like that. And their show is it's depressing just to watch how there's no people at their shows.
Wow.
There's really nobody there. It's amazing.
Worlds, they rise and fall. Which brings me to another interesting aspect of the Negro Casas versus Mystico feud. It struck me how much they remind me of the old Negro Casas versus Hijo de Santo matches.
Yeah.
And, in my opinion, I suspected at the time, but in my opinion, I just thought Negro Casas carried that feud.
With who, Hijo de Santo or me?
Yes.
Well, it was in Arena, Mexico, so...
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I know the Hijo de Santo name meant a lot, and Negro Casas probably wouldn't have drawn as well, with just anybody else. But I really think he made that feud something special. No matter how many times they revived it, and no matter how many times you knew that Casas would eventually lose his hair to Santo, that feud was fresh.
Yeah. So, what about the legal problems in AAA lately?
Oh, fill people in, Fredo.
The Cocaine Cowboys. Did you hear about the Cocaine Cowboys?
Yes, I did. Oh my God, I'm almost scared they're going to use that as a gimmick now.
I know. That's what I was watching. Have you seen the documentary called Cocaine Cowboys?
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact, on Showtime.
Yeah, I was. As soon as I read that story, I'm like, Cocaine Cowboys, right there. That should be their new name, the new faction. And they could actually make a faction based off of that, Cocaine Cowboys. It wouldn't be that outlandish in this day and age. I wouldn't be shocked if Conan actually decided to do that or something. Or AAA did that. It wouldn't shock me either. I mean, they did the angle with Antonio Peña's ashes. I know. But, I mean, Antonio Peña's ashes were pretty popular, though. Easily the most over babyface in 2008. Man, if that gets over, I mean, if using somebody's ashes as a stipulation match, why not go with Cocaine Cowboys? There you go. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? Aren't there all sorts of songs written about the various
narco traffickers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that could have been a lot. I mean, I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen to these guys down the road. I mean, if that ever happens again.
Good question.
You don't just beat up somebody who got you coke and whatever, alcohol, and get away with it. But the funny thing I was thinking about was, how, you rode around with Dr. Jerry Graham.
I certainly did.
If a wrestler would have brought out coke and a lot of alcohol, would you have reacted would you have gotten upset at him, or what would you have done?
Okay. If perchance people who are listening haven't heard the story, a fan, I think he's around 30 years old, who was a big fan. Was he a fan of Macias?
Well, I mean, they said he was in a gang though.
Oh, okay.
But he was a fan. He was a fan,
and he took Macias, El Hijo de Tarantes, and Billy Boy, and he took them to go score some cocaine.
Well, I think he brought it.
What's that?
He brought it with him.
Oh, he brought it with him. Okay, so he scored cocaine for them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they decided to whip the cocaine out and start partying in his car, and he objected, and they responded to his objections by beating the living shit out of him. And that led to their arrest, if I remember right.
Yeah, but apparently a Macias, I guess on Tuesday, he released a video, somebody released a video saying that he had nothing to do with it, that he wasn't involved. He basically was out there trying to split everything, calm the situation down.
Interesting.
He said he's never done drugs.
Oh,
but you know what that means, right?
That's like Dr. Jerry Graham when he was in court once for drunk and disorderly, and he informed the judge that I am an athlete, and athletes do not drink.
But remember, I mean, most wrestlers don't think steroids are drugs. Remember that? That's like one of the...
This is true.
Yeah, they don't consider that illegal drug.
Never.
So he claimed he wasn't involved. That Billy Boy, but he did say Billy Boy and Hijo Tarantes were beating the guy up. So.
So he's going to be popular with Tarantes and Billy Boy then.
Well, I think they got suspended, or they didn't show up for the follow-up show. They weren't there, but Macias was. So, not the next show, but the show after.
It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Well, you figure Billy Boy's the most screwed out of them.
Easily. Well, Macias is the biggest draw of the three.
Yeah.
Tarantes is probably somewhere in between.
But then Billy
probably
Boy has
expendable.
But Billy Boy has family there. So.
Pardon me.
What about his kid though? What about Marvin? what is Marvin going to think of this?
Does he pay for his father's sins?
Yeah, there you go. Fabio Apache divorce. the next part of the angle. There you see. They're just going to use it as part of the angle, Because I mean, Billy Boy really does look kind of trash though. The last couple of months, he looks pretty bad.
Well, it sounds like it's pretty public. So whatever they decide to do with it, they could probably flow with it.
Well, they made a big deal about the Juventud thing, so I mean.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
Why not? They'll probably just bring this up too.
Now, being that we're based in Southern California, anybody who is a hardcore wrestling fan is probably aware of the passing of the Golden Greek John Tolos, who was one of Los Angeles' biggest stars in the 1970s. And I want to briefly stray from wrestling to talk another bit of Southern California pop culture that passed away recently. In 1995, Dan Farron introduced me to the coolest store in Hollywood. Now, for those of you who shop around the Hollywood area, you know there are tons of stores that go out of their way to drive home the point that they are way out there, they're extreme, they're unorthodox. The behind the counter you see somebody with multiple piercings and multiple tattoos who are trying to show you that they're on the fringe culture. But there was a certain store on Vermont Avenue called Mondo Video A Go-Go. And the first thing that would strike you about this store is that as you were about to go inside, there was a sign saying, if you are easily offended, please stay out of our store. And the reason we went into the store for the first time is we promoted a wrestling show, Dan Farron, the late Larry Doyle, and myself. The three of us promoted a wrestling show in conjunction with Mondo Video. And when you walk in the store, it was run by the brothers Rob and Bruce Schaffner and their wives. And at first glance, these four people just look like, you know, your stereotypical suburban neighbors. But then you looked around their store and saw the pornography, saw all the death metal posters, and saw things that would offend almost anybody, namely the pinup of the nude double amputee. And then after you had a conversation with them for a few minutes, you saw that these people were out there. They didn't need piercings. They didn't need tattoos. They didn't need to play music loud. This was a store that turned me on to a lot of really strange videos. They had every kind of video from there. If you wanted white bread stuff like ABBA, the Partridge Family, they had that. But they also had all sorts of material, numerous material from kooky TV evangelists trying to peddle money from you. They had videos of the satanic rites of Anton LaVey. They had videos and recordings of the punk star G.G. Allen, who loved to throw his own shit at the fans.
They're Hoovie's favorite.
Exactly. That's right. Maybe Hoovie is being scatted from above by the late G.G. Allen. That's a great possibility. I think you're onto something. And I'll never forget when Tom Burke sent me a tape from Japan of something called Handicapped Pro Wrestling.
Oh. Is that the one you sent to Bob Barnett, huh?
That's the one I sent to Bob Barnett, and on Bob Barnett's tape, all I wrote on it was, "You're going to go to hell for watching this." And for people who have never seen Handicapped Pro Wrestling, it was a seriously done tape of handicapped people in Japan who wanted to become pro wrestlers. A lot of them had leg braces and cerebral palsy. And, of course, I brought a copy of it to the people at Mondo Video, and it's one of the many things they rented in their store. But did they call it Handicapped Pro Wrestling as it was appropriately called? No. They called it Retard Wrestling.
Wait, Kurt, isn't this indie wrestling?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got me on that one big time. Big time.
Yeah, you keep going.
This store had everything you could imagine. This store had all the old drug scare videos. They had all sorts of underground videos from performance artists. They had a little bit of everything. And the characters that showed up in this store were something to behold, too. I would hang out there just to converse with the strange characters who hung out there. The people who stick out most are the guy who hung out and liked to check out all the queer videos, and he loved to just contemplate, I wonder if the guys who played Peter and Greg in the Brady Bunch really got it on with each other in real life. I bet they did. I just bet they did. Then there was the African-American woman who would special order white supremacy literature from Mondo Video. And when I asked her about it, she said, I read this because we have to know what these motherfuckers are up to, and the people at this store are the only people who will special order it for me. And what the people in Mondo Video love to do is they love to fuck with you. They love to push your buttons. And I found that out one day when I was proudly talking about my godsons, who at the time were 10 and 7 years old. And I wasn't two sentences into talking how cool they were when one of the brothers, Bruce, who had these dark, brooding eyes that were contrasted by this mischievous smile, and even though he was an average-sized guy, he had this deep, grisly voice that made him sound like he was this big bear-like creature. But he started saying, We absolutely hate kids. God, I'm so glad nobody brings kids into the store. They're disgusting. And I'm trying to stay a little diplomatic here, and then one of the wives go on saying, yeah, man, I hate when we throw a party and some asshole brings their kid. I say, bring your snot-faced kid home. We don't want to see them. And they just went on, and I think they said something like, yeah, I hope you don't bring those little brats over anytime soon, Vandal. That's another thing I loved about them. They referred to me as Vandal all the time.
So did you take them?
Well, I was starting to get pissed off.
I would have taken them.
I guess they saw that my face was starting to turn red, because just as I was getting really angry, the brother Bruce breaks out in this big smile and says, we got you good, didn't we, Vandal? You thought we were serious. And then he said, hang around a little longer. You'll know when we're fucking with you. And I hung around that place all the time because these guys cracked us up. And when I started realizing and started learning how much they love to fuck with people, my brother-in-law, Reverend Ripper, and I were in the store on the day of that famous Burbank Bank of America shootout with the cops.
Yeah.
Where the two robbers had that big AK-47 shootout with the police.
Did you see the documentary on that? That was.
I haven't seen the documentary yet, but believe it or not, we were in the store as they were airing that live.
Oh, yeah?
And it was at the point of the shootout where one of the bank robbers was lying dead on the pavement. And there was some crazy person in the store, pointing at the TV screen saying, this is another incident of police abuse, and he's looking at me and saying, they just shot him in cold blood. And stupid me, I was kind of talking seriously with him, saying, wait a minute, no, the guy was shooting at the police like with, an automatic gun.
Yeah, he had armor. He had, armor all over.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm telling the guy, how can you say that? And he looks at me and says, the police say they were shooting at him. And I looked over at Bruce, and I see that little glint in his eye, and as the guy is going rambling along, Bruce yells at the guy and says, hey, did you hear what they just said on TV? And the guy turns and says, what? Oh, they just said on TV, as that man lay dying, before they gave him medical help, they did a full anal cavity search on the man.
I'm pretty sure they probably would have done that, considering all the damage they did.
And the funny part is that guy believed him. And this was a typical hijinks you would see in Mondo video all the time. And I hung around the store a lot between, I would say, 1995 to 1999, and then I had to go and get a full-time job, like, most wrestlers, wrestling fans eventually have to do someday. And, I had a lot less time to go visit the folks at Mondo Video. And then one day, about 2 months ago, I was driving around L.A. and looking at all the old shopping haunts that I used to frequent, Eddie Brandt's Saturday Matinee DVD store, what few used record stores still exist in this age of the Internet. And I decided to drive over to Mondo Video and see how they were doing. And I was heartbroken to find the store was closed, and looked like it had been closed for quite some time. And so what I did is I did what anybody in this age would do, and I jumped onto the computer when I got home, got on Google, and started doing searches of the brothers' names. And lo and behold, Rob Schaffner has a MySpace page, a Mondo Video A Go-Go MySpace page. And I emailed him, we reconnected, and he said, yeah, we closed the store in October of 2007, but we're hoping to get something going again. I think we might have something up our sleeve. And I was jazzed to get back in touch with the Schaffner brothers. And then about 5 days later, as a matter of fact, it was on the same day John Tolis passed away, there's a message on the MySpace page of Rob Schaffner, and it said my brother has died.
Wow.
Bruce Schaffner, he was 41 years old, do not know the cause of death, but not only will I miss Mondo Video A Go-Go, but I'll miss Bruce Schaffner very much. That guy, that guy had a wild sense of humor, as does his brother Rob. And I hope he's up there having a blast, roaming heaven with their departed dog Ilsa. And, in Andy Kaufman style, I would love it if this was another one of their hijinks. If someday I would walk into Mondo Video A Go-Go when it reopened and see Bruce behind the counter looking at me with those dark, brooding eyes again, going, Vandal, we fooled you again, didn't we? So that, my friends, is my tribute to Mondo Video A Go-Go. Apologies for straying from the pro wrestling track, but being that we're in Southern California, I wanted to give that great shop a great send-off, and I hope someday Rob Schaffner and company spring up again in Southern California, because they are very missed by SoCal pop culture.
There you go.
And you notice I call it SoCal proudly. I know that's very uncool to do these days, but SoCal.
I think it's okay to call us SoCal, but don't call Northern California NorCal.
That's true.
I think they hate it, don't they?
It's much better than calling it NoCal.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've never heard them refer to themselves as that. So.
No, they haven't. I think SoCal, when you think of a SoCal, it has a very laid-back surfer dude feeling, which I think is more of a Southern California phenomenon than an overall phenomenon in, all through California.
Yeah, there you go.
Here I am butchering my words. I mean, I know up in Santa Cruz surfing is very big, but I think when you think surf culture, you're thinking sun. You're thinking Southern California. You're thinking all the beach towns like Huntington, Seal Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach.
I think it's the 45 minutes that we've been talking about it. I think we're worn out already.
Oh, my God. So those of you who are still listening to us, who have the good grace to continue listening to us, you have heard us blow up. We've blown up just by doing a podcast.
You know what it is, though? They're probably not even listening to us right now. They're probably waiting for the show to download it. And they can just stop. We should just do a little. You can now stop listening to us, and we will continue.
This is true. And I will forgive anybody for fast-forwarding through most of this, except for Dan Farron.
Dan Farron probably just watched TNA right now, so he's probably burned out.
Oh, dear. If he heard you say that, Alfredo, I think he might put his street fighting clothes on.
He'll start yelling at us about the fact we have to watch everything, right? Remember Superboy told us, when he asked us if we watched WWE? And
yes, I do.
We both said we didn't, and he's like, no, you have to watch it all the time, even if it's, and we're like, why? It sucks. And he's like, no, but you have to watch it. And I'm like, and I kept telling him, no, there's no point in watching it. We were done. Yeah,
all it does is stagnate the imagination.
Well, WWE, I can still watch some of the stuff, but I mean, TNA, I just never got into. I
tried twice watching TNA in the last year, and I gotta say, a Purple Heart goes to all you people who hate TNA but brave it out, feeling you're obliged to watch it week after week. I don't know what drives you, whether you have some sort of duty, as would Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, Wade Keller, people who have to watch it, have to report on it. But that's one of the beautiful things of doing a podcast like this, is we promise you nothing.
But you know what I find funny is, like, what I feel bad for when I hear Brian or Dave talk about it, it's like they have to force themselves to watch it. Like, I'm going to watch it later this weekend.
I remember a day, like 20 years ago, when I thought, boy, I bet it's fun to be Dave Meltzer and make your career writing about pro wrestling. But then I thought about it and I said, wait a minute. You have to watch every taping of WWF Superstars. You have to watch every Ultimate Warrior match, whether you like it or not. And that's, like I said, the beauty. On this podcast, Podcrap, well, that's...
I think you just called it...
There's WrestleCrap, we're Podcrap.
Yeah, there you go, Podcrap.
Well, what we promise you on this podcast, we promise you something every week on this podcast. What it is, we will not tell. We hope there will be an audience. We hope some of you will listen. But we promise you nothing in particular. If CMLL keeps going the way it is, yes, we promise you Negro Casas, Felino, Mr. Niebla, and once again, what a bitching entrance that is.
There you go. Yeah, but you don't even watch AAA, Kurt. I mean, let's be honest.
I don't. And I do not promise that I will. I cease from promising these things.
But let's just run down the shows that you don't plan on watching this week. Raw? Will you be watching Raw on Monday?
No, I will not be watching Raw.
Will you be watching SmackDown?
Probably not.
When is SmackDown on? Friday?
Friday nights.
Yeah, will you be watching that?
If I'm folding laundry and it happens to be on, then I will watch it.
Or what if they're showing a replay of Man vs. Food?
Oh, I've never seen an episode of that.
That's pretty good.
And
how about something on food? On what is that? What is that? Travel Channel? Travel Channel.
The Travel Channel?
Yeah, with Zimmern, Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern.
Oh, I think I've seen an episode of that with Elena a long time ago. I think that's what I was watching anyways.
You would watch that over SmackDown, right?
Yes, I would.
A chubby, bald guy eating bugs, you would rather watch than SmackDown.
It's a hell of a high spot.
So there you go.
Name another wrestling show.
Okay, you don't have Dish Network, so we can skip NWA Wrestling Showcase.
I still get to see an episode, though I'm curious.
You don't have HD Net or HD TV or whatever.
I had HD Net. I ordered HD Net, and they took it away from me 3 weeks later and replaced it with another channel that shows not much of anything.
So you don't plan on watching Ring of Honor?
No, I do not. I watched one episode. It was interesting, and I do want to say, first off, yes, the wrestlers are excellent wrestlers, but the show didn't give me wood.
So
I don't know how else to put it.
So you obviously didn't watch TNA Impact today, so...
No, I didn't watch TNA Impact today.
And you don't plan on watching it Thursday, right? Next Thursday?
No, I do not.
Okay, so you're not going to watch... I know you're not going to watch ECW.
And why am I not going to watch ECW?
Why, Kurt? Why aren't you going to watch ECW?
Because they do not feature the zombie on it anymore. They only used their greatest character, the zombie, on one episode, and they jobbed him to the Sandman. Zombies do not get jobbed by a kendo stick. Zombies do not moan into a microphone. Zombies slowly slough their way towards their prey, grab onto them, sink their teeth into their shoulder, tear their tendons out. As they let out a blood-curdling scream, zombies tear the entrails out of their foes.
You know what, though, now that I got to cut you off now.
Yes, go for it.
You know, now the good thing is we can watch everything on YouTube.
This is true.
I mean, everything's split into 10 minutes, so if you can't finish something, you could just watch 10 minutes to go do something else, come back and finish watching it. YouTube
is Fantasyland. You can find so many different things on Fantasyland. Speaking of zombies, I'm so happy because in the mail today, I just got the film Evil, a Greek zombie film.
Was it from Netflix, or did you order it?
Netflix, yes. This is a film about a bunch of zombies that invade Athens. Oh. This is so cool. I found out about this through one of the greatest podcasts I have ever heard in my life, Mail Order Zombie. And to the 0 or 10 people who are listening to this podcast, check out mailorderzombie.com. They have one of the greatest podcasts that cover nothing but zombie movies and zombie literature with Brother D and his beautiful wife, Miss Bren, who has a sexy voice, by the way. You can learn everything zombie. In fact, I should write them and ask if they know of the ECW zombie. Now, Ring of Honor, I would go out of my way to get, bootleg DVDs of it if I knew they were using a Walking Dead, a zombie. So
you just brought that up. You wouldn't pay to watch their shows. You're basically saying you would watch Ring of Honor, but you wouldn't pay to watch it. Right?
Good point. I think I misstated what I was going to say. What I meant is if they use a zombie, I would do anything possible, use any means. If I could not get it on HDNet, I would try to get a dish and see if there's any way I could get it through that. But if I need, yes, I would steal, I would cheat, I would get it through illicit means like bootleg DVDs.
So basically, you're not going to watch any wrestling this week, because I just ran through every show, and you're not going to watch wrestling. What are you going to bring to the table next week, or whenever we do another podcast?
Can you get me some CMLL DVDs?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you rock. Then I will watch those. Okay, I will DVR AAA.
Okay, and you might watch it.
I might watch it.
Okay, you might watch it. You know, did you know that the way the show aired in Mexico, it doesn't really matter over here because, you know, it's already behind. But in Mexico, I think the Cien Cara's debut was right after the pay-per-view, or during the pay-per-view or something.
Was it really?
Yeah, because he was the special referee for the cage match.
I didn't know that.
That's kind of weird. Isn't that like supposed to be planned, like ahead of time?
I would think that's something you would want to publicize.
Yeah, I mean, that just seems weird. I thought I would bring that up. So you're basically so you might watch AAA.
I might watch AAA, yes.
I might actually watch Raw. But you know the bad thing? Every time I tune into Raw, there's women wrestling on there. Like for some reason.
And they all look the same.
I always pick the wrong time to start watching Raw.
We have no current Bull Nakano. Awesome Kong is the closest thing, but Awesome Kong is no Bull Nakano.
I'll probably watch SmackDown, though.
If you watch SmackDown, I'll try to watch it. And if I watch all these things and nothing really yanks my chain, then next week I will talk about Evil, the zombie movie I am about to watch through Netflix.
There you go. So I was correct in picking our category as entertainment?
Yes, you are absolutely correct, because
we probably will probably split half the time discussing other stuff besides wrestling.
Exactly, because Alfredo, if I recall, I met you through your lovely sister Judy in 2001.
Yeah, and she refused to be on the show too. I asked her.
Oh, Judy. Okay, we're going to have to shame her into being on.
But she's a wrestling fan, so
well, then we really have to shame her into being on. But since that time, every time you and I get together, we cannot stop talking. And I'd say half that talk is wrestling, half that talk is some other version of media, some other version of pop culture, whether it be futuristic, neo, or retro. You and I just can't stop talking.
We just won't discuss the adult-oriented stuff, right?
Well, we could refrain from that, or we could start a whole another show. And
what do people expect? We live in SoCal. I mean, we run into that crowd too. I mean,
this is true. This is true. There are so many different avenues that this show can take, and I think we'll take it week by week. I know we've pretty much winged it tonight.
We got 1 minute left. Oh, no.
1 minute left. Then please tune in next week. And for everybody out there, if you're walking through Southern California, remember, if you see a light shooting across the sky, it is not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder.
You know,
Until next week, ladies and gentlemen.
I just got the British lady saying 90 seconds.
How many seconds?
90 seconds.
Okay.
You got more time. You got
89, 88, 87.
No, you better close out the show now.
Okay. Then I will tell everybody once again. I'll say it slowly so I can just kind of let the time run out. Remember, if you are walking anywhere in Southern California and you see a bright light shooting across the sky, it is not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder. How many seconds do we have left?
35.
We'll get the timing on this thing down pretty soon.
We gotta. What's going to be our closing? You know, we got to come up with a better closing. We can't.
Oh no, that's one of the best closings you could ever come up with.
I think we should just close it, like continuing to talk through the whole thing.
That's true. We could do that. Just talk until the time runs out, until the British lady tells us that we're done.
You know, I forgot to.
Ooh, that's arousing. A British lady telling us we're done.
Did you hear about the pet monkey controversy in Dragon Gate?
In Dragon King, I have heard nothing about this.
Dragon Gate.
How many seconds do we have left to talk about it?
We're out of time. Oh, wait, we're streaming. We're still on.
Oh, my Lord. So they'd let us go on forever, huh?
Yeah, how does the show stop?
How
do you stop these Block Talk radio shows?
I guess we'll just have to hang up on our audience and we'll call each other back on our landlines.
Oh, there you go.
Talk to you in a little bit, Fredo.
Okay, see you later.
Take care, folks.
Talk to everybody next week. Bye.